Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the CoculesNation. My name is Secret Agent Nick No Cocules. I'm the founder and the director of the Cocules Industry Spy Network and the CoculesNation. In 2023, this is June 9th of 2023, I made a video detailing the software in which I used at the time. A lot of things have become different since then, and I will be making a few changes. First things first, a lot of people will know I stopped using Mint, and instead, I decided upon CachyOS, which is an Arch-based distribution. I knew I was going to go back to my Arch-based roots eventually because I started my Linux journey with, wouldn't you know it, Manjaro. If you are starting your Arch journey, Manjaro is a mistake. It is a mistake waiting to happen. Use something like CachyOS. What? Oh, Yeah. And of course, I am using the Iosevka font. I think I've been using the Iosevka font for a while. Not only that, I've also been using a couple other fonts, but I really do like Iosevka. It's really, really cool what I'm able to do. And I think I actually replaced FastFetch recently with something called Archi. This is Archi version 3, I believe. And yes, I'm also using Freedom Units for the temperature of the CPU, which was 107 degrees Fahrenheit. So I'd say roughly 30 Celsius, 30, 40 Celsius, somewhere around there. Basically pretty darn hot. But anyway, there's that. I'm still using Alacrity, though I could have used something like the GNOME terminal. Apparently there's another terminal thing called Tilix. I've never tried my hand at Tilix. And it is actually in the chaotic AUR 1.9.6. But of course I could go ahead and just do regular old Tilix. It's for GTK plus 3. I will definitely take a look at that. I've been recommended things like Kitty, Westerm, quite a few. But I do like Alacrity, even though it has literally no features from what I've heard. But it's not so bad. Of course, I'm still using Vim. It's still my text editor choice, though I tend to use GUI text editors. I do like using Vim sometimes. But here's a little something interesting. DoAs. Now, you may be asking, Sendo, what in the world is DoAs? Think of DoAs as the BSD version of sudo. Now, I have gone ahead and gotten rid of sudo. Well, how was I able to do that? You may be asking. Simply, you would end up doing, well, first you would need to download DoAs. So if you have sudo pacman-S open DoAs is how you would do it on Arch. Let me zoom in for y'all. It's literally open DoAs. But then after you get rid of that, you'll do DoAs. And make sure, actually, now that I think about it, I think I have DoAs edit. I think it's like a DoAs config. I need to go ahead and find that. It's under Etsy, maybe? And then it'll be doas.conf. Right here, doas.conf. That's what I thought. I'll just doas vim into Etsy and doas.conf. And right over here, this is basically where I can do sudo, but instead of using sudo, I can do doas. You just have permit and do the same thing with sudo, make it persist, set the environment variable, and then you've got all of these paths here that you can use, and then make it for the wheel group. This is exactly what you want to place in once you get doas. That's the first thing you need to do in order to get doas. I think make a new file called doas.conf and then do exactly what I did here. Nothing special there. Then once you get do as, you'll want to go ahead and do as pacman -RDD. This will break base devel, so keep this in mind. I will have a method for you to pull this off. I think it was actually the new DistroTube method. And then it'll be sudo. Hit enter, get rid of sudo. Now, this is going to be a bit of a trick. I think if I'm not mistaken, I have it in my bash history right over here. Here's my bash history. And it's going to be right here. This command will be do as, because you're using do as instead of sudo now, which does roughly the same thing. ln -lowercase s, and then which do as, and then link it to user bin sudo. Basically, you hit enter, and do as will be linked to sudo, so it doesn't necessarily break the compatibility with the base devel package. And this is what I did on CachyOS. Though I may also consider using DTOS and make a config that DT might like. I'm not entirely sure how. Anyway, so that's another thing I started using as of late. There is a mind mapping software I wanted to get into because I like learning a lot about different things. I think it'd be under Office. I just was able to find it, a little something called FreePlane. And this is a mind mapping software that I have used a lot. It is free software. Let me find it. It is under GPL2 Plus, which is fine and dandy. But yeah, this is essentially what FreePlane is capable of, but there is way, way, way more to that. I'm going to have to learn FreePlane some more and maybe do some mind mapping with that. These are just the basic functions for FreePlane. Blinking shenanigans, dialog font, Times New Roman. Boy, do I love using that font. Doesn't matter. You can even use LaTeX, apparently. I might have to find a way to get LaTeX on the system, because apparently LaTeX is really good for some mathematical stuff. But there's that. I'm still using the same Rofi. I think this is DT's Rofi thing that was set up or something like that. I recently got bottles. Bottles is basically another way to do wine. I'm still using the same Lutris. Still got the same Lutris over here, so nothing special there. I've also got Steam, still the same Steam. Itch I have, but I don't tend to use it all that much. There's a lot more that I can go into. Up here, this thing right over here is a little something called Free Download Manager, or FDM. And I use that in conjunction with Florp for a specific purpose I don't want to get into. But I do use this in tandem with FDM. I just don't use the FDM browser extension for personal reasons. I have made the switch from the Cachy browser to instead LibreWolf. Cachy browser is CachyOS's depreciated now fork of LibreWolf, but I was able to bring my LibreWolf config and make that into something similar in LibreWolf. Basically from Cachy to LibreWolf. I don't know why I said LibreWolf to LibreWolf. That's weird. Doesn't matter. I've essentially pulled some shenanigans off. What I'm using for YouTube right now is the Zen browser. This is basically the Vivaldi of Firefox. So I've got that. I have Fire Dragon. I've got WaterFox instead of LibreWolf. LibreWolf I'm using for something else. Midori I have. As I've shown, also I've got Florp and Brave. But otherwise, yeah, that's a little bit of an update as to the software I've been using. Also, instead of this thing, I think I've mentioned this, Archie 3 or Archie 4. It's something called Archie. And there's that to consider. But some of the software has remained the same for a while. Still using Kdenlive. Weirdly enough, I am not using a little something called LibreOffice anymore. I stopped using that for a little while to do my novel writing, and instead, I'm using Novel Writer. Though I may want to find a word processor, and one I was actually considering is Word Grinder. So that would be do as Pacman -S. And then I think Word Grinder, or is it in the AUR? Might actually be in the AUR. Yeah, it's in the AUR probably. Or I just have to find it something different. It is in the AUR. But you can get in the AUR. This version apparently is really good. Version 0.8-1 is the latest version of Word Grinder. But you can easily build it from source if you had to. I probably could. But as you've seen there, I am using Octopi instead of Synaptic because I'm on Arch instead of Ubuntu. And I just wasn't really happy with Mint anymore. Though I could easily do something like LMDE6 and set that up with the Debian testing repositories. So that wouldn't be so bad. But it doesn't matter. I'll just use Arch or maybe a systemd free system because DJ Ware did a video on systemd 257 causing a lot of problems. I had systemd 257, but I haven't had any issues. But I may do something like Artix in the future. I actually wanted to take a look at some more operating systems, so expect those in the future. That being said, I don't want to ramble on as I'm already out of time for today's video. Thank you, and good night.